What's up, people? I almost said bring another action. That's not what I'm doing. More talking about stuff happening in my life now. Now, what I'm about to talk about a lot of it sounds like a spiritual thing. Some people will believe that I'm just being, load of shit. Fucking a lot of people actually think I'm delusional as hell on drugs, for all we know. But so, as I said in one of my videos like a long time ago, that my dad passed away like in 2017 from a brain aneurysm. And for the longest time prior to him passing away, I've had the worst luck. All the way until 2021. Yeah, 2021. Had the worst luck. Let's start from the beginning. First, living with people, shit going on. Living with more people, shit going on. Living with more people, just everybody I'd lived with. Except my grandparents. I lived with them, but got kicked out just because of, I don't want to, in a sense, stupid, but it's hard to say. 30 years old, got kicked out of that because I would always try and play video games all night, and they would turn the Wi-Fi off at 9 o'clock every day. But it's like I'm a 30-year-old man playing video games. I'm a gamer, play video games all the time. They would tell me to go to bed at a certain time. I couldn't even eat in my room. I had to eat in the living room. Like, not in the living room, but somewhat. The kitchen was in the living room still because they lived in an apartment. But not to be rude. But it's like, I'm 30 years old. Like, they one time, not to be disrespectful towards love them both, my grandparents, my dad's side of the family. One time I was playing video games, and my grandpa came into the room and said, "You should go outside and play," or something like that. And I'm like, not to be rude, but it's something you tell a kid. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there like, what? But anyways, so prior to that, I came back to this house. And as anybody who follows me on my YouTube channel before, everything knows the history in this house with the fuckboys that came over, me and my homie's mom being enemies, colliding all the time. We always got in fights because I'd always call the cops on them, those, not on her, but on the guys she always brought over that disrespected her kids, laugh at them, fucking be assholes all the time. And me and her collided all the time. And then every time I was downstairs, you know the whole story on my other channel from years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, that it was always her yelling down the stairs, "Motherfuckers leaving my house, call the cops, cop collar this," talking shit to me. And I got so fucking upset all the time, cried fucking, because I just didn't know what to do. I just had to deal with it. Finally I got left, and then we lived with my friend and his girlfriend at their house. And then from there, then went to my mom's, ran off from my mom's to go live with my ex, and that whole thing became bullshit shit back that. And then left from there. That's when the grandparents part left from there because they thought I was disrespecting them, trying to stay up all the time and not turn off the TV at 9, 10 o'clock every time they turn the internet off. Then I ended up back here. I mean, this ain't actually this point of this in the house. But then I was concerned at that point that I was going to come back to this house, and next thing you know, cop caller lives in my house again, this mother effer. Well, thank God the fuckboys don't come. By the time I came back again, we're gone for good. They didn't come back around anymore, except this one dude that came over all the time. Didn't really have problems with him, but he was still fucking asshole / weird. But everybody could deal with him, unlike these other two that came over we could not deal with. And then from that point, it was like, oh God, me and her are gonna be clashing about being probably called cop. I thought in my mind, when it came back to this house again, I thought I was gonna have to seriously go back to Wyoming and go live with my grandma. My grandma that took care of me for like 20 plus years of my life. Of course, I'm going to respect that. The only reason why I wouldn't want to go back to Wyoming, not because of my grandma or nothing like that, it's because I have no friends out there. All my friends are here. There's nothing to do in Wyoming. The population of what people in Wyoming are like 500 people. It's really nothing to do there. Concerned about that. Well, one day so our rooms were both upstairs, her room and then the room that was originally her dad's room before he ended up being put somewhere, come out. I don't know what I was doing specifically. I think I went in the kitchen for a minute, came back, she woke up, whatever, like anything. Next thing you know, she just said she had a dream about me. And I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be one of those horrible. She's gonna start talking shit about something. Oh, I remember I had a dream about you because you used to be a cop, like something like that. But like, and then I'm not gonna say what she said, but at first I thought it was weird, and I was like, nah. So I went in the room, but then I thought about it. I was like, maybe this situation could help me stay away from my ex, or exes in general, not just one, any of them. So, shockingly, we ended up being a thing. And next thing you know, we got rid of the other boy, the one we could deal with, but we finally got rid of him because he decided to be a dumbass. She went over to his house one time because he wanted her to make her food and blah, blah, blah. And she comes home, I think that same day at like sometime in the morning, because I remember she still left at 3 in the morning originally. Next thing you know, she's like, what was it? What was it? Oh, she started asking, because her son and his girlfriend were downstairs at this point. They sold their house to somebody, lived here for a little bit, and next thing you know, she comes home, starts talking about wanting me or her son to shoot her, or hang her, or find a way to kill her, and we're sitting there like, what the fuck? Gave it some time, because she wakes up finally sometime that same day, and it's like, I think he spiked my drink, the guy she always hung out with all the time. And we're like, what the fuck? She's like, yeah, I think he put something in my alcohol and blah, blah, blah. And like I've said before, she was a bad drinker. So when me and her became a thing, I really didn't want to believe it. Because, being a bad drinker, once you come down from drinking, if you ever go to therapy or something, you don't really remember things you did before. So prior to that, we're like, nah. So he tried to come over again. And her son's like, nope, get the fuck out of here. And then her mother was like, told him, come around again, I'll tell your job what drugs you do. Because he did drugs. And he worked as a security guard somewhere. So he was about to think he was going to lose his job with her mom trying to call the cops about it. So he stayed away to keep his job. I don't even know if he still has that job. It's been like a year or two now at this point. A year at least, actually, maybe. And from there, it was like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then the time I just started being the person to hang around her now. Because everybody respects me. Likes me. Since, blah, blah, blah. But her being, the drinker she was, I was like, not going to believe 100% were a thing, but I wanted to feel like I believed that, to stay away from people, Then my friend got us into an apartment. Sorry, none of this story really sounds like a spiritual thing for my dad, but I'll explain that. We ended up living together in the apartments, like in Midvale. She ended up going to therapy like in January of this year to February. She was supposed to stay there 3 months, but she stupidly got kicked out because she had an iPod. That's stupid. And we were concerned because she only stayed there for only a month instead of the 3 months. We thought she was going to go back to being an alcoholic. Drinking a lot and stuff like that. Don't say alcoholic, it's drinking a lot. But thank God, that wasn't the case. And she ended up actually not drinking for an extra 3 to 4 months from that point. Ended up working somewhere where she works now, still works there. Me working somewhere different at that point, back to my old job, Presort. The only difference now at that job, instead of $11 an hour, it's 16. Way better. But the entire time, if we go back to the time where she asked me about this, you know, the dream thing and all that, to living together, she got out of therapy. I instantly, don't worry. I was concerned in some way that when she got out of therapy from the drinking, that she was not going to remember a clue that we were a thing. And I was going to be prepared to know that, but deep down it would kind of hurt. Well, from point to point, she ended up staying, her son ended up buying this house back. I stayed in the apartment a little bit, then I went back to my mom's for a little bit. They came here now, and we're both downstairs now instead of upstairs. And I make a comment about something. Oh, she was telling her, her, what do I call it? I forgot what you call it. She was telling my friends as a joke thing, or not a joke, but I don't know how to describe it, but telling her son's kid, because he has a kid, he has 2 now, that what was it? Oh, it was making a joke to her and was like, "Oh, it's a good thing you're too young to be having boyfriends," and blah blah blah. And I made this comment, not a bad comment, but I was like, "Yeah, it's a good thing. Nope, dating girls this, dating girls that." As I started saying, agreeing with it, and then she looked at me and she's like, "What about me?" I'm like, "Oh no, some people." Now I didn't think much about it still at that point. And then one time we're outside carrying some wood, trying to figure out the situation, what we're going to do with this wood outside. She makes this comment, "Well, it's a good thing you got a smart girlfriend." And then from that point on, I come to realize that I think she finally made, the exception to be with me. And this time she hasn't been a bad drinker. So she actually said what she said is an actual thing, instead of concerned that she's really a bad drinker and just saying that because she's a drinker. Well, prior to that point, she still wasn't drinking, so she actually said what she meant. But I also had concerns still sometimes. And next thing you know, from that point on, yeah. And I even made sure if it was a legit thing, so we had a fight one time about something. And I was like, sometimes I wonder if you call me this, that, blah, 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 and this, and that. But I feel like deep down that you're still not all there sometimes. That you're just saying that you would be with me, but you're not all there. And she's like, "No, I'm all here now. And what I say about you is true." Blah, this, blah, this. Her calling me cute and all that other stuff. And I'm going back now, since I took like 13 minutes talking about my life. Spiritually on my dad's situation. This might sound like the lunatic, crazy freaking part of the whole thing. My dad obviously passed away brain aneurysm. But from the point she woke up, said she had a dream about me, makes me wonder if my dad did that. And then going forward, living with her in the apartment, wondering if I was away, my dad, her to live with me in the apartment to stay away from my exes for a whole long time. And then from there, came back to living here, and then she lived here, but I went to my mom's, and then my dad was like, find a way to put him to live with her, see how much more better his life gets. And I ended up living here now. And then from that point on, we fought a couple times, but whatever, that always happens with everybody out there. But spiritually, I feel like everything has been going good in my life now since like last year, technically, when it technically started. I feel like it's my dad spiritually helping me, finding a pathway for me to have. but there is a result to some of the good stuff in life. Some things still happen in your life that aren't good. You know, for examples, my bike. For a whole month, I had to take UTA because my bike tire went flat. So that ended up being a thing. So there's always a result to good things happening in your life. And I accept it, because you can't just sit there and think you have everything good happening in your life. Something happens. And then there's times where I felt like I've seen my dad in my dreams. Or there was one time I was in the living room, sitting on the couch, and it looked like I saw an apparition, black apparition kind of, that looked like a color to it, sitting not on the couch but kind of on the floor of like a taller person one time. And it was a trip for like a split second. I'm like, what the fuck? And it kind of it was so crazy. I fucking jumped. Not like jumped, but jumped a little bit, like, whoa, what the fuck was that? But then I thought about it. I was like, I think that was my dad. Now, it sounds weird to say it because blah, blah, blah. Your house has to be haunted to be seeing ghosts, blah, blah, blah. But in some way, all the shit that's been happening in my life now that's been good, I feel like spiritually is my dad finding ways for shit to happen, you know? Like, for example, there was a supervisor that at my work, when I started at Presort again, that's a job I worked at before too. Ooh, I fucking hated her. She would fucking just not do nothing. She'd walk around and I guess one time told one of the employees, oh, I'm a supervisor. I supervise. Instead of working on the OCR like she should be and doing the mail, nah, she'd be fucking. It was like, what the fuck? All of a sudden I prayed. I was like, God, I hope she's gone. All of a sudden she was gone. In the stupidest, funniest way ever she did. She just decided to be stupid. One of the other supervisors were like, where you at? When are you going to be here? Oh, I'll be there in a little bit, blah, blah, blah. She accidentally sent a picture of herself in the bathtub to the supervisor and the big boss instead of her actual boyfriend, saying she was on the way originally and be there like in 30 minutes. Actuality, she had pictures where it was her in the bathtub and the other pictures where she was doing her hair. She meant to send to her boyfriend and not the So she came in the next day, or that same day, and they started already unloading her shit out of her locker and told her, see ya. And it was like, damn, good. Dude, she was a bitch. She tried to yell at me one time for this like piece of mail thing for a piece of paper that we never did before, and all of a sudden she feels like it has to be done. She's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, I wanted to, you know. So I was like, thank God, because I prayed to my dad about it, because obviously God, I believe he could help people out in some way, but I feel like in heaven, spiritually, wherever he's at, he has his own things to do. So if you have family members that cared about you so much before they passed away, if you believe it, it will happen. But there is a result. If you do believe it, bad things do happen. Not bad, but just a puny bit. Like a flat tire to a car. That's bad, but you could have friends or you could have a spare tire you could just put on it. But if you have good things happening in your life, there's going to be consequences in some way, bad things. Definitely the way my life's going. Shockingly, I can sit here and say that I care about my life more than I used to. Because before, for the past years, I always got mad or whatever. I'm like, nope, I hate my fucking life, kill myself, blah, blah, blah. But ever since I've been with the woman I'm with now, there's times where I fucking be working and I'd be sitting there actually smiling. Before, I'd just be like, and if I talk to people, I'll smile just a little bit, but I wouldn't feel it. I'd just be like smiling, but I wouldn't really feel it. But now I actually feel it. I feel like I can smile. And then every time I think of the girl I'm with now, it almost makes me want to cry. There's a couple times where I've teared up at work. Nobody's never noticed yet, but if they do, I just tell them, allergies. But it's like, a lot of this shit is going on because of my dad. It might sound stupid. It might sound like I'm just doing it myself. But the fact that I just sit here and play video games and don't do anything else, go to work and play video games most of the time, there's no way that I could have done this myself, because I just sit here and play video games. Like, if you people believe that spiritually, that you have somebody in your family that's helping you out, good. But if the people that don't believe that shit and think I'm just a lunatic little fuckboy, stupid dumbass, sorry if I'm putting all this weird shit on myself, but a lot of people out there are going to be like that. They're going to be like, you're fucking delusional. What drugs are you taking? You know. But a lot of people agree with what I'm saying too. They probably have people that had family members pass away, and all of a sudden, years later, their life is all of a sudden going good. It's like I said, my dad passed away in 2017. My life didn't start going down a good path until 2021. Or maybe a puny bit of 2020, like 2 to 3 months before 2021. So I'd say more like a little bit of 2020. Because my dad, in my opinion, spiritually, my dad was blocked from helping me for 3 to 4 years. So I had to deal with 3 to 4 years of BS, crazy shit, all this bunch of stuff, bad luck, to the point of crying, but I had to deal with it. But I never thought of it like that until all of a sudden one day, being with the woman I am now, with my dad feeling like he's helped me out with it, to now being good. Now, I've told you people, the person that you've seen in my reaction videos on my old channel on YouTube, that I've been with that person for 20 years. Not to be rude to that person. Actuality though, everybody, I've only known the person for 13 years. 3 years in elementary school, 1 year in high school, none in junior high, and then 10 years going on from the gifts program to now, 13 years. But the woman I'm with now, actuality, this ain't just, oh, I've known her for 20 years, but actuality it's only 12 years. No. This girl I'm with now, I actually known for 25 years of my life, and I'm 30. So what does that tell you? I've known her since I was 5. But the difference was that when I was 5, she was 19 at the time. Because as everybody doesn't know, it is my friend's mom. I was 5 at the time, she was 19. Obviously nothing could happen there because underage and everything. Obviously. But actuality, I've known her since I was 5, 6, whatever. So this person I can say I've known for 20 plus years. Not just, oh, I've known the person for 20 years, but actually I only known the person for like 13 or 14 years. Like I've said about my ex, I've said that all the time to people, but actually we've only known each other for 13 years. This person I've actually known double that, 20 years, 20 plus years, 25 years. But the way my life goes spiritually with my dad, it's still going good. I mean, the worst luck I had recently for all the good stuff my dad's doing for me is the tire on my bike did go flat again. 2 days ago. So I'm not riding that bike anymore because I don't want no more bad luck on that end. But yeah. And every time I think about it, with my dad doing all this good luck for me, helping me out, I think I've cried at least a couple different times. I even feel it in my throat a little bit, like I want to cry again as I think about it. But I try not to because I just don't want to, overwhelm my dad with having to help me out with something else now because of me being sad that he's not here and all this other stuff. But anyways, that's the reason why I feel like my life's going good. But eventually but by tomorrow I'll do another reaction video because I'm trying to catch up on Call of Duty's tiers. I'm only at like tier 83, 84, and I only got 2 or 3 hours before I have to go to work again. But anyways, deuce. I'll find more reaction videos or anything to talk about in general. See you people next time.